Jaina Bosonko, and this is QTV Midday News coming to you live from our studios on Kayaba Avenue. Thanks for joining us. And here are the main local, international and sports news headlines. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has approved Hajj for international pilgrims this year, according to the chairman of the National Hajj Commission of the Gambia. In a tour of some NAWEC facilities with journalists, the newly appointed Minister for Petroleum and Energy, Abdullahi Job, reiterates government's commitment to providing quality and accessible services in the energy sector. We speak to Amadou Kagbo, a father of newborn triplets, about the joy but also extra financial burden in having to deal with a multiple birth. Following a QTV news broadcast highlighting a recent fire incident that ravaged the home of the Boy Kunda family in Dipakunda, a charitable medical foundation on Saturday donated food items and $40,000 to the victims. In international news, the United Kingdom and Rwanda made headlines on April 14th this year when they agreed to on a deal to relocate irregular migrants arriving in the UK to Rwanda now. Denmark is reportedly in talks with Rwanda for a similar pact. Those were the main headlines, and now the news in detail. Do stay with us. Thank you so much for joining us. You're watching QTV Midday News, and I am Jaina Bosonko. Now, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has approved Hajj for international pilgrims this year. The information was revealed by Alhaji Usman Jah, the chairman of the National Hajj Commission. More in this report by Babukar Sise.
After 2 consecutive years of annual Hajj restrictions, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has reopened its doors for international pilgrims to perform the 5th pillar of Islam. In preparations for the 2022 pilgrimage, the chairman of the National Hajj Commission says the registration process has started.
Insha'Allah ta'ala, Hajj will be conducted this year, insha'Allah ta'ala, based on information received from Saudi authorities. The office is informed officially that Hajj will be conducted in Saudi Arabia this year. And the e-system now is open for the registration of operators, and also a package has been provided for the Gambia, that is national package, but unfortunately it's reduced. We have now started working on logistics to make the Hajj happen, insha'Allah ta'ala, properly.
Several Hajj operators in the country are licensed to ferry and guide pilgrims to Mecca. The Hajj Commission's chairman explains some of the conditions these operators have to meet.
The number of operators that will operate this year is 9, but they are not selected this year. They were selected in 2019 and given license and distributed the national quota among them. So we maintain those operators, and the conditions are well known. So it must be a registered Gambian travel agent that fulfills all conditions, registration certificate, pay all license and taxes and so on, and you must bring a bank guarantee of 4.5 million and IATA certificate approval. So those are the conditions, and Alhamdulillah, all of them have fulfilled the conditions 2 years back.
Due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the Saudi authorities drastically reduced the number of people from various countries attending the Hajj. In the previous years, Gambia's quota was increased to up to 2,000 pilgrims. This year, the quota for the Gambia is only 905. Because the Hajj is expected to take place in the first week of July, those preparing for this year's Hajj will be under pressure given the limited time available.
It's not our fault. It's the negative impact that COVID-19 leave on the world, the whole world. So preparations were too late to commence. But now that we have started doing the work properly, I urge all intending pilgrims to choose or to go to their favorite or chosen operator and register themselves and follow their instructions, and so that to complete all necessary registration documents, they complete everything soon as possible.
Although all age groups are at risk of contracting COVID-19, older people face a significant risk of developing severe illness if they contract the disease due to the physiological changes that come with aging and potential underlying health conditions. For that reason, those above 65 years will not be allowed to perform Hajj. COVID-19 and yellow fever vaccination card and PCR negative test within 72 hours before arrival to the kingdom is also a requirement. The use of face masks, social distancing and all other COVID-19 guidelines have to be strictly followed. The Amirul Hajj assures Gambian pilgrims that some members of the Hajj Commission will be in Saudi Arabia to guide and support Hajj operators and pilgrims for a successful Hajj. The Hajj Commission thanks President Barrow and the line ministry responsible for Hajj for their continuous support. Babukar Sise, QTV News.
Good news there. Now, the newly appointed Minister for Petroleum and Energy, Abdoulaye Diop, has reiterated the government's commitment to providing quality and accessible services in the energy sector to help the country attain its energy objectives. He was speaking to journalists on Saturday during a tour of NAWEC's facilities in the Combos. And Sumana Isonyasi has the rest of that story.
Unlike his newly appointed colleagues, this was no familiarization tour for the newly appointed Minister for Petroleum and Energy, having served NAWEC for decades, where he was at one point the company's managing director. Even before taking his oath of office scheduled for Tuesday, Minister Abdoulaye Diop, accompanied by NAWEC senior management, tours NAWEC's power and water generation facilities within the Greater Banjul area. Beginning at the Kotu Power Station, the minister observed with keen interest various sections of this huge facility that was commissioned 32 years ago by the country's first president, Sir Dawda Kairaba Jawara. Here, he inspected all the engines, interacted with staff, and inquired about the state of the facility as well as staff welfare. From Kotu, he also visited the Sukuta water plant, where he also interacted with staff and made similar inquiries. He then proceeded to the Jawang power plant, which supplies power to communities in the West Coast region. Here, we found contractors replacing the old transformer with a new one, a sight that visibly delighted the minister, who urged NAWEC officials to always keep the new transformer in good shape to ensure longevity. From Jabang, he proceeded to Brikama, where he visited the water plant for the Greater Banjul area. This facility was commissioned in 2009 by the former president. Like in other facilities, he had extensive discussions with staff and made recommendations to NAWEC's management. Following a brief stop at the new power generation and monitoring facilities, also in Brikama, he tells journalists he is impressed with what he has seen in most of the facilities visited and reiterates government's commitment to continue supporting the energy sector.
There is work in progress. Yes, we could have fixed it 10 years ago, but the opportunity and the environment is different. So let us all exploit the current dispensation, which is very conducive for all of us to work in the interests of the country.
Meanwhile, he stresses the need to improve staff welfare and calls for collective effort in improving NAWEC's performance.
Let us just all support His Excellency the President to fulfill his agenda to provide electricity throughout the length and breadth of the country.
He also had a message for consumers, assuring them of improved services as government continues to engage partners in the sector.
I believe, NAWEC, the team, he just have to push. We're not going to leave anyone behind. But if you're trying to waste our time, we'll leave you behind. And I think that's what the message to, and we'll not allow anybody to disrupt the work of the managing director and the team. But equally, the managing director and the team must involve everybody.
Meanwhile, NAWEC's management have applauded the appointment of the new minister as welcoming news, promising to investigate the minister's recommendations for improved service delivery. Answana Sonyasi for QTV News.
Now from that, in natural births globally, twins occur in about 1 in 250 pregnancies, while triplets occur in about 1 in 10,000 pregnancies. Along with the joy at the birth of children, parents of multiple birth children face extra financial burdens. Amadou Kagbo, a father of newborn triplets, has found, as Jenna Bosonko, as I report, obviously, has plans to establish a foundation for triplets in the future. A multiple pregnancy is where a woman is carrying more than one baby at a time. If she's carrying 2 babies, they're called twins. 3 babies carried during one pregnancy are called triplets. Sometimes multiple birth children look exactly alike and are called identical. Amadou Kagbo's triplets don't look any more alike than typical siblings. Amadou Kagbo describes his newborn triplets as a blessing, bringing so much joy to his family. According to him, doctors told him and his wife Jariatu Kagbo that they should be expecting twins, not triplets, according to the scan results. Research shows that the financial stress of multiples can take a real toll on families. Kagbo has 5 other children to feed and pay school fees for, in addition to other needs. As a school teacher, this presents many challenges, and he explains some of them.
There are a lot of challenges. Sleepless nights, psychological trauma for my wife. Definitely, I was very, very, very sad when I saw her on the bed. Almost, I lost her. So these are some of the... And also when I left my kids at home here, I went to Banjul. I was there for 1 week. I have 2 minds. Thinking of the home here, thinking of the Banjul. So I was definitely psychologically traumatized. Oh, well, they are great. Especially they are feeding. Because 1 tin of lactogen is $250. That is 2 days.
A research by the University of Birmingham, UK, found that 62% of multiple birth families reported being financially worse off after their babies were born, compared to 40% of other parents. Families with multiple births were more than twice as likely as others to categorize their financial problems as quite difficult. Amadou Kagbo urges fathers to be supportive to their wives during pregnancy and delivery.
We have triplets. Should be given a due consideration, especially the husbands should be very close to their wives because they suffer, no sleep, and the women always really suffer. So I pray and I ask all men to be very careful and love their wives, especially when they are in labor. It is very beautiful. I want all men to be in the labor room when their wives are delivering.
Amadou Kagbo is motivated to start a foundation for triplets to support parents who might find it difficult to raise their children without outside financial support.
I feel the way I suffered and the way my wife suffered, I know other parents will also suffer the same thing. So I decided that, you know what, I'm going to write a foundation on Triplets Foundation, which very soon, inshallah, I will publish it.
The babies who are 3 weeks old are in good health. If you wish to support Amadou Kagbo and his family, you can call 333-3245. 333-3245 or email news@qtv.gm. For QTV News, I am Jenna Bosonko. Now from that story, we will go for a short commercial break, and when we return, we have some more local news stories as well as international. Do stay tuned.
Your favorite QCell service has gotten bigger. eFunkanta. Now you can loan bigger credit amounts to make life easier for you. Loan $75 and $100 and pay later. Yes, you heard me right. Get credit loan from $10 to $100 using eFunkanta by dialing *393#. Anytime you run out of credit, whether you want to buy Q Power, browse the internet, make urgent calls, or send SMS. eFunkanta is the service for you. Dial *393# and choose the loan amount of your choice with no hassle. For more information, call our customer care on 111. QCell, Sunyabus, the pioneers of mobile loan service in the Gambia. We innovate, others follow. Terms.
Looking for the fastest and easiest way to receive money transfers from abroad? Well, Q-Money and RIA just made it happen. Now you can receive international money transfer from RIA directly into your Q-Money account with no additional cost. Once you receive an SMS alert about your transfer, walk into any Q-Money agent across the country to receive your payment for free or use the money immediately to buy credit, Q-Power and other Q-Money services. It's fast, safe and convenient. For more info, call customer care on 133. Q-Money, Sinu Calpe. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back from that short commercial break. If you're just tuning in, you're watching QTV Midday News, and I am Jenna Bosonko. Now, following a QTV News highlighting a recent fire incident that ravaged the Boykunda family in Dipakunda, a charitable medical foundation on Saturday donated food items, clothing and $40,000 to the victims. Alusise has the rest of that story.
20 bags of rice of 30 kilos, 3 gallons of oil, 2 bags of sugar, cloves, and a cash of $40,000. Members of Chasan, a charitable medical foundation, said the funds were raised by their members after watching the fire outbreak story on QTV Gambia. Hafiji Sisao, board chair of Chasan, explained that his organization mostly intervened in providing free healthcare service to people in disadvantaged communities, but felt it necessary to support these fire victims.
This association was initiated in 2013. From 2013 to today, we made 25 medical camps across the country. We saw more than 25,000 people, and we spent more than $5 million in our medical camps. All those monies were coming from philanthropists who were donating us. Yes, the foundation members are all contributing $50 per month. All those monies have been used to buy medication and provide medical service to people in disadvantaged communities across the country. This is what the initiative is about. Today we are here on a different mission, providing support, immediate support to people who have been affected by disaster, fire disaster. So Chosan did not limit itself to health services to the disadvantaged people. We also see it necessary to intervene in any area of need and to make people's life better and forever.
Mahmoud Sise, a member of the organization, said they were delighted to support the victims as he called on the public to support this family that is still struggling to recover from the aftermath of the disastrous incident, which left their entire house burnt to ashes.
Within a span of three days, we were able to mobilize some funds up to $70,000, and then we were able to buy some food items. As you can see, those are the food items, some clothing, and a cash of $40,000 to be presented to the victim's family. And we are also thanking all the donors because within 3 days we were able to raise a cash of $70,000. As we all know, the current economic situation is not very good. But despite all the challenges, we were able to raise that amount. So we are thanking our donors. Also, we are urging and appealing to everybody, all and sundry, to come out and support this family the best way they could. As you can see, the neighbors are here, they are contributing their own quota, and every other person should come and support the family. The entire house has been burned to the ground. And what makes it heartbreaking is that we just learned that the breadwinner of the family, this family has lost both their mom and their dad this year, within 12 months, and a tragedy like this has to visit them again. So we are appealing to all Gambians, philanthropists, just come and support the family the best way you could. Any support is welcome. So
for Lamin Boy, head of the affected family, and few elderly neighbors who turned up to accept it, the donation will greatly assist the family's recovery efforts. They prayed for Chosan and further appealed for more support from the public. This was the second donation in 2 days, prompted by the QTV News story. On Friday, another group of philanthropists had donated $15,000 to the fire victims. Reporting for QTV News, I am Alu Sise.
Now let's take a look at news beyond our borders, as the United Kingdom and Rwanda made headlines on April 14th this year when they agreed a deal to relocate irregular migrants arriving in the UK to Rwanda, where their cases will be processed. Now Denmark is reportedly in talks with Rwanda for a similar pact. Momodumboch has the rest of that.
In announcing the deal, Britain's Prime Minister Boris Johnson hailed it as a beacon of openness and generosity and Rwanda's President Paul Kagame defended it, saying this was not about trading people, but that it would offer a chance to asylum seekers to begin a new life. But elsewhere, the decision sparked controversy, especially among human rights groups and religious leaders. The UN labeled it unethical, and its refugee agency, UNHCR, has reportedly distanced itself from the agreement. The Central African director at Human Rights Watch, Louis Mudge, also expressed disbelief, saying the fact is that Rwanda has an abysmal human rights record. This is a country where freedom of speech is not respected. In Britain, there has been a backlash to the deal. The Archbishop of Canterbury, the principal leader of the Church of England and the symbolic head of the worldwide Anglican Communion, called the agreement the opposite of the nature of God. And in his Easter sermon, the Archbishop Justin Welby said Christ's resurrection was not the time for subcontracting our responsibilities. Britain's Home Office staff have reportedly threatened to mutiny over what they call a shameful Rwanda asylum deal. While the UK government has promised a smooth operation, critics point out that details have been shrouded in secrecy, and it is unclear how the relocated asylum seekers might be accommodated in Rwanda, and what happens to those who are not granted asylum. Under the proposed scheme, those granted asylum may remain in Rwanda for at least 5 years. The UK government, which believes that the deal will deter migrants from going to its shores, will contribute about £120 million towards it. Denmark has since announced that it was in talks with Rwanda for a similar deal, raising concerns among critics that offshore immigration processing could become a wider strategy deployed by the powerful governments of richer nations, from Australia to the EU, to discourage unwanted arrivals by creating conditions that are hostile or inhumane. The asylum deal has been viewed by many as an extension of Kagame's pro-Western approach and have actually questioned Rwanda's capacity to host more people seeking asylum, given the size of the country at just over 26,000 square kilometers and the number of refugees and asylum seekers already in the country as of September 2021, numbering around 127,000 according to the UNHCR. The Rwandan minister has been quoted as saying the arrival of motivated migrants will help boost their economy and the deal itself will encourage further investment. But one wonders, according to one critic, what the ordinary Rwandan will think of a rich European country sending its problem to a small African state. For QTV News, I am Mamoudou Mbouch.
From that story by Mamoudou Mbouch, let's take a look at our main headlines before we leave. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia has approved Hajj for international pilgrims this year, according to the chairman of the National Hajj Commission of the Gambia. In a tour of some NAWEC facilities with journalists, the newly appointed Minister for Petroleum and Energy, Abdoulaye Diop, has reiterated the government's commitment to providing quality and accessible services in the energy sector. We spoke to Amadou Kakbo, a father of newborn triplets, about the joy but also the extra financial burden in having to deal with a multiple birth. Following a QTV News bulletin highlighting a recent fire incident that ravaged the home of the Boy Kunda family in Dipakunda, a charitable medical foundation on Saturday donated food items and $40,000 to the victims. And in international news, the United Kingdom and Rwanda made headlines on April 14 this year when they agreed to relocate irregular migrants in the UK to Rwanda. Now Denmark is reportedly in talks with Rwanda for a similar pact. Now that is all we have for you in this edition of QTV News. Join me at 8 p.m. for more news. Have a nice day.